Ladles and jelly spoons, welcome back to Badgerworks. Today we will be continuing our rather epic build of the Roden 1/48 scale Fokker D.VII, and we're going to pick up once again where we left off the last time. So let's get on with it. Right, so it's been several days since I last looked at this, and I can't remember where I got to, so I apologise in advance if this edit is a bit jumpy, because I've been all over the place doing different things and just doing bits and pieces of this when I can. The fuselage is now together, as you can see. I haven't put the rudder on yet because I want to do the rigging underneath and on the tail first before I put that, because I think it will just make life a little bit easier. I've put the cover on the canopy, on the cockpit rather. So that's done. So the fuselage is basically done for now. So we can put that to one side. I'm not going to do the rigging just yet because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the engine together, and then while that's drying we can look at the rigging. So I have made a few changes here because I did realise on looking at the pictures again that I'd actually painted this incorrectly. So if I show you these bits, if you remember, these were all green before, and then I realised that it was actually supposed to be green and red. So I just quickly repainted that and weathered it again, so that was fine. So that's that. We need the other one of those. And we need this. Oh. Try and get all this. This is the trouble, is when these things have been stuck on for a while, the white tack tends to stay where you don't want it, but it's easy enough to get off. So we want that, and we want the radiator, and we want the engine. Right, let's get this off of here. Now, let's see if we can get all this together, shall we? It's going to be fine. What could possibly go wrong? So this is this side. So that goes like that. I think we're going to have to make some modifications here, because I think that the front of this, so if you look here, the front of that is over this bit here, over this, and that's where the over where this goes, that sits on top of that. So that's going to be in the way, I think. So we might need to nip a little bit off the end of that. It does seem to be a little bit of a... I think what I might need to do... It would help if I had my glasses on so I could see what I was doing. That would make a big difference. Yeah, I think we need to just remove a little tiny bit of material. From here. And possibly a little touch on the back there. Not a lot, just a little sliver. Just to make that fit a bit better. That's better. And we want to do the same at the front there, but I am going to nip... Where are my clippers? I'm just going to nip the front of this off about there, like that. That's better. Right. Now, let's see if we can glue this on without getting glue all over my fingers. So I think what I'll do is I'll just put a little touch at the back here to start with. Right. There we go. Right, I'll put the other side on. Right, that's that. Now let's, before that dries completely, let's get the engine in, because we need to get the exhaust through the side there. Like that. Alright. And then we want a bit of glue in there. And a bit on that side. And then hope that that goes together properly. I suspect it might not. Why do I get the feeling this is not going to fit? Yep, I didn't think it would. That needs to go kind of like that somehow. The engine is not in the right place. Right, now, will this go on? Oh. Right, we're going to have to remove a bit of material off of this because it doesn't fit over the camshaft properly. Right. Let's clean up these edges. That's better. Right, I'll hold this, let it dry for a bit, finagle the other side into place, and then we'll try and put the front back on. Right, I've just been fighting to get this front radiator cowling back into place, and I think I'm getting there. But yeah, this is not going together well. Right, how are we doing? That's lifting up at the back, because of course it is, and that's popped out. But aside from that, everything's going swimmingly. I'll just hold this again for ever. Oh dear. Right, after holding that for a considerable amount of time, I think that is probably about as good as it's going to get. So I'm going to put this aside very carefully and leave it to dry. And then I'll touch up the paint a little bit, because I've got a lovely fingerprint right there on the front, which is great. And then we can think about putting it on. But I think before we do that, I'm going to turn my attention back to the fuselage. Right, so while we're waiting for that engine compartment and everything to dry, we're going to turn our attention to a little bit of rigging. Now, there's not much to do on this, mainly around the tail and the undercarriage. So I have drilled some holes in the various locations with a 0.5mm drill bit, and I'm going to use some of this. This is Prim knitting in elastic. This is great stuff. It's perfect for this. And we're going to use this to create our rigging. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a piece off, a fairly short bit for this actually, about there somewhere. And I have some just some cheap super glue from the pound shop. And in this pin vise I have, and I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not, that is actually a needle that I have cut half of the eye off of to create like a little tiny prong, like a fork. And what we're going to do is we're going to dip that in the glue, and then we're going to put a little touch in the hole like that, which is easier said than done. That's way too much, but never mind. And then we're going to take our bit of elastic, if I can actually pick it up, and we are going to put that in the hole like that. And the way I usually find this works is it either sticks instantly or it doesn't stick at all. But this time it appears to have stuck, so that's good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put another little touch of super glue on the top of the, whatever that's called, that it connects to. And the trick here when you're doing this is you don't want to put too much. All you want to do is take the tension out of it, take the slack out of it. You don't want to pull it like a bowstring. And then if we just touch that on the end of there, it should stick, but might not. But we'll try. Like that. And then we take a pair of scissors and we snip the end off like that. That's not really very tight, unfortunately. I should have pulled out a little bit more taut, but never mind. We'll do the same on the other side. Oh. Pop that in there, like that. Put a little touch of super glue on the top of there. And I say it doesn't need a lot, it needs the tiniest little drop. And then take the end of the, pull it across, take the tension out of it, and stick it down. You might have to hold it there for a second, but usually it will stick instantly. But that one's not going to, because of course it's not. There we go. And again, just trim the excess off. Oh, missed. And there we go. This is why I didn't put the tailplane on yet, because I wanted to do that first, and I'll do these ones. So under here, basically what you've got is this top one actually goes through the tail and goes down to this hole here, and then this one here connects here. So we need to put a piece from there to there and there to there, and then once we've done that on both sides, we can put the tail on, and then we've put one from here to the rudder. So I will get the rest of those done and we'll go on from there. Right, so we've done the rigging on the back there. I also added the lifting eyes as well. I just stuck those on while I was at it. We're now going to fit the engine to the fuselage, and it basically goes on like that. However, I did have to do quite a lot of finagling to make it fit. So what I did, because there were bits sticking out everywhere, again, I just resorted to this wide flat file, which has proved its worth in this particular project. And you can see where I cleaned up the bottom here, I cleaned up the side, I removed some material from the top here, from the bottom, and also, most importantly, I also made a little divot there, because I found one of the reasons that this wouldn't fit properly was this part. You can see how it sticks out, and it was basically sitting like against that bulkhead and stopping it from going in place. So I just removed a little bit of material, and now it fits on there a lot better. So we'll try and get this stuck in place, which is going to be hilarious trying to do this in front of the camera, but we'll do what we can as ever. So, but that now actually, and I need to touch up a bit of the paint, but I'll do that once I've got the lower wing on. So let's get this in place, and we'll see if we can, I'm just wondering actually if it might be better to do it with this Rebel contactor. The only trouble is you've got to be careful with this contactor, is sometimes it goes everywhere. But what I'm thinking is if I just put a little bit here and here, there and there, like that, because what I don't want it to do is come spurting out the sides and go everywhere. And then we can hopefully get that something like that. Right, I'll just hold this for a minute. But once this is done, we'll move on and put the try and put the lower wing on, which also doesn't fit very well. Right, I've just been fitting this lower wing, which in news that will surprise no one, it doesn't fit very well. So the problem is it was too snug a fit everywhere. So what I've had to do is, again, using this file, which has more than proved its worth today, I've basically filed out these slots here. I've removed a little bit of material from here and here. And on the wing, basically what I've had to do is come in from various angles and basically come across here like this, the fronts and back here, these parts here, and again at the front. And just remove tiny amounts of material each time and just constantly refitting and fitting, and try and get this, because basically what was happening is when the wing was in place, and it's still doing it very slightly, the wings were drooping, and it was basically because they were being pushed down. So because there was too much material here, what it was doing was basically pushing the wings out like that and making them sag at the ends. So after a lot of careful filing, I think I've got this about as good as it's going to get. And what I'm going to do now is try and glue these in place. So, and then we'll just leave it. And what I might do actually is lay it flat and perhaps put some weight on the top of it just to kind of hold it down so that it dries with the wings straight, or as straight as they're going to get. It's kind of funny because it's difficult to see on the camera. Hang on a minute. Let's just move this a little bit. You have to excuse my neighbour with his noisy diesel, but anyway. So hopefully you can see that the way the wings are shaped, because they're quite thick, chonky wings, they actually look... Can you focus? Focus here. Focus. No? Well, you'll have to squint. Because the wings are quite chonky, although the bottom of the wing is parallel, there is a slight taper on the top, so it looks like the wings are drooping slightly even when they're not. So, oh, and now there's a blooming helicopter flying over. Anyway, so that's why I've been removing material. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try and glue these wings on and not make a complete dog's breakfast of it. And then after that, we'll have to do some touch up on the paint. But another thing that's quite interesting actually while we're here, and hopefully the camera's picking this up. So obviously I painted this red earlier, at the same time I did the fuselage. But I don't know if you can tell the difference, because this has lacquer on it and this doesn't. And this is something that I've tried to get across before, is how the tone of a paint changes depending on whether it has a gloss, a matte or a satin finish on it. And you can see here, this is the same colour red, but look at the difference purely because this has matte lacquer on it and this doesn't. And I'm really hoping the camera's picking that up. I can't really tell. But there is a distinct difference in the tone of the colour. So always worth keeping in mind. Anyway, let's stick this on. And hope for the best. Right, there we go. We'll turn that over. And I think what we might try and do is get a little bit on the top here. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Oh no, that worked. Let's try and get over the other side here. There. Right, and then like I say, we'll just leave that and I'll try and put some kind of weight on it just to give it a bit of downwards pressure. It doesn't need a lot, but just a little bit just to hold it completely flat while the glue dries. And then after that, I think we can start working on the top wing. Oh no, actually we need to touch in this paint first and then we'll do the rest of it. Right, I am now somewhat vainly attempting to put these struts on. It's not going very well. So basically this one is meant to go, like the front leg, as it were, is meant to go through that hole, and then that goes on there like that, but it doesn't fit, unsurprisingly. And then this bit is meant to attach down here and then attach to the bottom of this, so it turns it into like a tripod like that. and I have absolutely no idea how I'm gonna do because this bit doesn't fit to start with. Yeah, because if you put that through the hole, then that's nowhere near where it needs to be. But the trouble is I need to have like all of the bits lined up so that I can try and attach this other bit, and it's just, I don't know, I really have no clue how I'm going to do this, because that's supposed to go kind of like that. So, but this end is nowhere near where it needs to be, because it needs to be like that. Oh, and then it does that, you see. So yeah, I think what I'm going to have to do is just have a play with this and see if I can figure out how it's meant to go. But I think what I'm going to have to do is glue this top part on like that and just hold it until it dries, and then try and attach the other leg. So I will do that, and we'll just have to see how it goes. But yeah, loads of fun. So yes, I apologise if you can't really see what I'm doing, but I can't really see what I'm doing either, quite frankly. But I'm just going to have to sit here and hold this like this now until that dries. So there you go. Right, I think I've got the first bit in place, and I'm having to basically hold it until the glue dries. I'm going to try and get this other bit on now. I'll put a touch of glue there and a touch of glue there, and then try and hold this other bit in place. And hope for the best. Because that goes there and there. Stay. Oh. Stay. Right. And I will continue to hold this until everything dries. So I'll see you in a couple of hours. Right, well, I've managed to get them both in place. They don't look like they're level, but, you know, we'll just have to see how it goes. Now, we've got to put these on. Now, which way do these go round? So the V at the bottom goes at the front. So they must go like that. Something like that. And what I'll do is I'll put these on, then I'll leave all this to dry, and then we'll try and get the top wing on. So we'll just put a little drop of glue in there and a little drop of glue there, and try and get these to go like that. Oh. Stay. No, you're not going to stay, are you? I'm going to hold this as well. Great. But as I say, I'll glue both of these on and then leave them to dry for a while, and then try and get the top wing on. Right, so I've given these time to dry for a bit, and they seem to be relatively secure. So now we're going to try and put the top wing on. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the wing upside down and put the the aircraft onto it. Now, one of the things I've done, just to show you, is I use this drill, which is I think it's just over 1 mil, and I've just put some little divots in these 4 locating block things, and that has meant that these now fit a lot better and don't have a tendency to sort of slide out. So they kind of go like that. Now the problem that I think we're going to have, and I don't know if you can see that on the camera or not, but these ones here are seeing like 2 or 3 millimeters above the wing, and there isn't really any other way to do it. But anyway, what we're going to do is I'm going to glue these ones on. I'm going to attempt to put the rear struts on, but that might be a bit more difficult, but we'll see. And hopefully that will give us a good starting point. So we'll just use a bit of glue, and we'll just put a little drop there, like that. And we'll do a little drop on the other side, like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to leave that to dry. And hopefully that will help. Now I'm just wondering if it's worth trying to put, because there are struts that go at the back here. From they basically go from here up onto the fuselage, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to put those on, because I think I need to do that to make them fit properly. But we might give it a go. But we'll see. Because I can't move it now is the problem. Or I probably can, but I just have to be very, very careful. Because the thing is, I don't want to slide this wing around, because obviously it has the aileron lever things, and I don't want to drag it because I don't want to snap those off. So let's see if we can turn this round a little bit, like that. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it very well, but we'll see what we can do. So basically what we have is these struts. That need to go in, and they sit in that there and also there. But what I need to do is just move that slightly to get that to sit like that. Oh, that might actually work. I wonder if I can get some glue in there without knocking the whole thing off. My glasses would help so I can see what I'm doing. Not that I can see what I'm doing either way, but you know. Oh, no, I've moved it. We were so close. Alright, let's try that again. Alright, I think we've got that one. Yeah, I think that'll do. I'll try and put the other one on as well. I'm going to move the camera because frankly I can't do it with the camera here very well. And then we'll let that dry. And then I think what we'll do is while this is drying, we'll take a look at the prop shaft. Right, so as I said, we're going to move on to the propeller now. And to start off, we're going to give it a coat of this XF78 wooden deck tan. Right. There you go. We'll give it a couple of coats of that and then dry it off. Right, so I've just taken a few minutes and masked up this prop shaft, which was as much fun as it sounds. Just using this 1mm masking tape. And now we're going to go over it again with this XF79 linoleum deck brown. We just want to go over it fairly lightly, because what we want to do is try and accentuate the stripes that we've created. And we end up with something like that. So we'll give this a second to dry and then we'll peel the tape off and see what kind of a lash up we've made of it. Right, let's see if we can get this tape off. All right, there we go. Doesn't look too bad, does it? And it just gives it that laminated look, which is how most propellers, wooden propellers, are actually made, by laminating wood together. So what we'll do now is we will give this a couple of coats of gloss lacquer. We will then paint the centre boss, probably brass. There's a couple of decals that need to go on it, so they'll go on. And then we'll give it another coat of lacquer, and that'll be our prop done. Oh, right, we've been having all kinds of fun with this. I've discovered two fundamental flaws with this model. Well, more than two, but firstly, the instructions, almost as an aside, the instructions are incorrect. It calls for, let me just show you. So decal placement, I don't even remember when I put the decals on. It said to put these decals on the underside of the lower wing. I have been looking at various references and I found out they're actually supposed to go on the upper side of the lower wing and the underside of the upper wing. But anyway, that's a minor thing. I'm not really worried about that. The other thing that we've got is this engine cowling, radiator cowling is too small. All of this around here should be flush. There shouldn't be a big step there. And that's basically because the radiator cowling is too small to fit on the front of the aircraft. But that's, again, I can't do anything about that. A bigger problem is these outer wing struts here are too short. And as a result, I don't know if I can get it in there to show you, there is virtually no gap between the top of the guns and the underside of the wing. Now, I know with these D7s, the upper wing is very close to the fuselage, but it's not that close. And the problem that gives us, and I'll turn this over so you can see the mess that I've made of this. Hopefully you can see there, that was one of the little black mounting points. It's had it because I put these inner struts on, and then when I went to put the wing on, there was like a 3mm gap between the end of the strut and the wing, the outer struts and the wings. So what I've been trying to do and failing miserably. The other thing is these holes here and these struts don't interface very well, especially on this side, because this one keeps interfering with the exhaust pipe. But what I've decided to do now is I'm basically going to have to modify these struts to make them fit. I've already nipped the end off and that wasn't enough, so we're going to have to do more. So what I'm just doing now is, these are the rear inner struts. So hopefully I can show you how this goes. I have to be very careful with this, but basically if I put that in the right place there, you can see it's too long. Hopefully you can see that. So what I'm going to have to do is nip a little bit off the end of this, and then reshape it with a knife to try and get it back to where it needs to go. It doesn't need a lot, possibly about that much. And let's see if that now goes in, because what I want to do is get these ones on, and then that will hopefully brace everything a little better. I think that's still a touch too much. That needs another little tiny bit coming off the end of there. About that much. And then I can glue these in place and leave them to dry and let them set up, and then hopefully that will, right, that's more like it. They'll brace it a lot better, and then I can work on the other ones. So what I'll just do is take a piece of sandpaper, not that bit. I think this might be a better bet. Let's just move this back a bit. I've got to be so careful moving this because I do not want to knock those wings off again. And we'll just shape this a little bit just to get it looking something like it should. Just put a little curve on the back of it. And always touch the paint up again afterwards. Something like that, and now we should be able to hopefully glue this in place, he says, with supreme confidence. Right, you go in. Oh God, it's moved. Oh, come on. Just talk amongst yourselves for a minute. All right. Like that, and I'll do the same on the other side. Let me move this camera down, hopefully you can see what I've done. So that has now moved, because of course it has. There. So we'll leave that one to dry, and then I'll do the same on the other side, and then once that's all nice and dry, we can look at doing something with these ones and trying to get those in place. But yeah, it's it's been frustrating. But that's fine, it's fine, everything's fine, I'm fine, you're fine, we're all fine, everything's fine. Right, let me put the other one to get them dry, and then we'll go on from there. Right, well, a couple of weeks has passed. I literally haven't touched this thing for about 2 weeks. And honestly, this model was about 30 seconds away from going in the bin with all the fuss I had with it before. I just couldn't deal with it anymore, so I stopped. And that's something I think that's worth mentioning. If you are building a model, and you know this is a hobby, it's supposed to be fun. If you're not having fun doing it, then just stop. I don't mean stop modeling altogether, but you know, if you're building a model and it's frustrating and it's not working properly, and you know, just put it to one side. I have literally got, within arm's reach, I have 3 models in boxes that are in various stages of completion that I simply lost interest in, and I just put them to one side. So but anyway, I've decided to come back to it and try and get it finished. So what I've done, in order to make these struts fit, I've had to shorten them. So I basically cut a little bit off the top there. This strut here, a lot of the problem was that it was far too long, and it was going right through and actually hitting the engine inside the engine bay. So I've cut probably about 5mm off the end, and I cut it down until it was just enough to go through this side panel. I also trimmed down and reshaped this one so that it would fit. And obviously I've taken the long strut off, and that's what I've got left to do. So what I'm going to do now is basically just pop this roughly where it needs to be, and this is to get an idea of how much to trim off the end. And as you can see there, it needs to have probably about 3 or 4mm cut off the end. So I'll just trim a little bit off, and I'll cut it off slightly long. I'll just trim the end off with a pair of snips. And then try it again. And we'll see how that goes. And that's still about 1mm too long, so I'll just cut another little bit off the end. Alright, that should be enough. And so now hopefully that will be somewhere near right. Yeah, that'll do us. So we'll just pop that in place, and a little drop of glue there, and a little drop of glue there. And then we're just going to leave it. Like that. So we will leave that to dry. And normally I don't leave things for very long, but I'm going to leave that overnight and make sure that's well and truly stuck down. I've already done the other side. So you can see there, I've basically done exactly the same thing. And so what I'm going to do now is, like I say, just leave this to dry, and then we can go on from there. Now the other thing that needs to go on is the undercarriage. So I've done some preparation for that. Here is said undercarriage, and you can see I have added a couple of little turnbuckles for the small part of rigging there is on there. I've also added a turnbuckle there and there. I'm going to do a video on rigging, or the basics of rigging. So if you haven't seen me do that before, then that's coming up soon. I have also drilled a couple of holes at the back here, and that is because for this undercarriage, the front of it, you can see there's a hole there, or recess there and there for the front to go in, but there's nothing at the back. So I've just made a couple of holes just to give somewhere to locate the rear struts, so that they can fit in place. In fact, we could probably even put this on now. Let's try it and see. Should be good for a laugh, if nothing else. Right, where are my glasses first of all, because I can't see what I'm doing. Oh, that's useful. Just broke my glasses. Oh well, they're only cheap ones from the pound shop. Got plenty more where they came from. Let me get another pair out. Hang on. Right, spare pair of glasses number 2. Yeah, you know, it happens. But we'll just pop that on like that, and then try and finagle this into place. So we'll put a little drop of glue there, and then this is really awkward to do in front of the camera. Do you know that? When I test fitted it, I didn't have the camera here. It was a lot easier without the camera. But never mind. I'll put a bit there. Right, now we need to try and get these back ones somewhere near where they need to be, which is going to be hilarious. Right, that's one. And then if this one goes in, it'll be an absolute bloody miracle. There we go. Right. That's somewhere near level. Near, not quite, but near. Right, so like I said, I'll leave that overnight to dry. And we're nearly done with this, actually. We'll do the rigging tomorrow, put the wheels on. And yeah, not far off now. Right, so 'tis the next day. This all seems to be dried all right. So we're going to go back to our prim knitting in elastic and try and put a little bit of rigging on this undercarriage. So what we need to do is thread this. Oh. Through there. Oh, it'd be really easy if I could see what I was doing. All right. What I want to try and do is get hold of both bits in the tweezers, and that's not easy. Nope, nearly got it. Oh. Alright, there we go. Now, I'll put a little touch of super glue. Like that. And that should stick those together, he says. with supreme confidence. Alright, and then we'll just trim this. That, and we do not want that to stick to there. Right, then thread that through there. Do is we just want to pull it, we don't want it like a bowstring, we just want to pull it just to take the slack out of it. Like that. And then put a little drop of glue down there. And then trim that off. Like that, see? Easy. What was hard about that? So I'll do the other bit and then we'll put the wheels on. Right, let's try and get these wheels on. One and that one. Let's make sure they're straight. They look fairly straight. Right, so we'll leave those to dry for a bit. Then we can put the propeller on, and then I think we'll be done. And here is our finished article at long last. This project went on way longer than I anticipated. But I don't think we've done too bad. There's a few bits that I think could have come out better, but, you know, it is what it is. And I'm certainly not going to, you know, poke any blame at Roden, because let's face it, I think they've got enough on their plate as it is. And we've turned out with a fairly decent result. I would genuinely be interested in hearing from anybody who's built one of these and see if it was, whether it was just me being an idiot, whether I did something wrong, or whether you had the same experience. But, you know, at the end of the day, the model's built now, it looks okay, and that's all that matters. So yeah, hopefully you've all enjoyed my slow descent into madness. As ever, I'd like to thank my top tier patrons, Howard, Amy, Chris and Hawaii Clive O, for their continued support. And I will see you all in the next video. All that remains for me to say is Slava Ukraini, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.